All right, this video is going to be about transformations. It's going to be part one of three videos where we go over transformations. Basically, today is going to cover all the shift. So let's just dive right in. Look, what's about to happen is f of x is like a parent function. So this whenever you see like f of x plus k, it's just saying f of x is like your original equation, and then plus k is going to be like your transformation, your shift, that kind of thing. So whenever you see f of x, just realize it's just telling you the original function, and then whatever changes, like over here there's a minus 2 inside with that. Whatever changes you see are the transformations. So whenever it is outside, like this plus 4 over here, it is vertical, meaning it's going to be affecting things by going up or down. It's going to be affecting your y values. And whenever you see like this minus 2 right here, when it's inside, that's going to be horizontal. So that means it's going to make this graph go either left or right. One thing about when it affects the x, everything is opposite than what you think it should be. And we'll dive more into that in a second, but let's just start looking at some examples. So in this example, that red circled function, that's f of x. So that's like what they're saying is the parent function. Now, they want you to apply a transformation. This right here is a vertical. Remember, it's vertical because it affects the y because it's outside. So this is a vertical shift. And whenever it's vertical and whenever it affects the y, it does what it's supposed to do. So what's going to happen is this line right here is just going to get shifted like up 4 units. You can make it really accurate by doing like a table. So here's x, here's y. So like when you have a shift that affects the y, it's going to be on this right side, right next to the y. Similar to that, if you had like a shift that was affecting your x, like over here, it's going to be next to the x on the table. So let's just start seeing some examples, and we'll see how you do. So this right here is a vertical shift up 4. It's up 4 because whenever it's vertical, it tells the truth. It does what it's supposed to do. So basically, you just have to take your y values here and add 4 to all of them. Then you can graph these coordinates. And when you graph these coordinates, you want to make sure to use only the outermost boxes. Because remember, these were your original y's. You applied a transformation to them, so they're no longer relevant, really. So like if I wanted to graph this, I would go -1, 2, 1, 6, 3, 2, and then 5, 6. And then I just connect the dots. And as you can see, it just shifted up 4 units on each point. Now, it doesn't always have to shift up. Sometimes they might shift it down. So for example, here's the second example. It's here's f of x, and they're applying this shift of a -3. Well, it's outside, so it's vertical. And then it's a -3, which makes it a shift. And vertical shifts are up or down, so minus is obviously going to be down. It'll just go down 3. So I take all of my y values. Remember, here's my x values, here's my y values. Since this shift is vertical affecting my y's, I want to put that minus 3 right here to the right of the y column. And then I'm just taking these coordinates right here and subtracting 3 from them. So that's like -5 here and -1 here. Then I can just plot those coordinates. I'll do this in blue. These are the coordinates I'm using. So -1, -5, 1, -1, 3, -5, 5, -1. And as you can see, this transformation over here just took the parent and shifted it down 4 units. Now, where these things start to really get tricky is when you have stuff that affects the x. Because basically you're going to have to think of it as everything is opposite. So whenever it's horizontal, meaning the transformation is on the inside of this, that makes it horizontal. And if it's a plus minus, it's a shift by default. Whenever it's horizontal, you either have to go left or right. Well, in your mind, common sense would tell you, if you subtract 2 from the x, you're going left. But the thing is, horizontal or transformations that affect the x lie, and you have to do the opposite. So what that means is, this is actually going to go right 2. And in your table, you can't just do -2. You have to actually add 2. So I'm adding 2 to these numbers. So now my graph using these and these as my xy coordinates would look like this. So this was a shift right 2. All right, and then the last example would be like this one, for example. There's a shift right here because it's a plus or minus, and it's inside, so it's got to be horizontal. Now, common sense would tell you if you add 3 to your x, you're going right, but remember, if it affects the x, it lies, so this is actually going to be a shift left 3. And when you do your table, you're going to -3 in your table. Then I'm going to graph it using these coordinates. So that's like -4, -2, -2, 2, 0, -2, and 2, 2. It's not 2, 2. 2, 2's here. All right, so as you can see, it was a shift left 3 from my original parent function. And those are just the very basics of transformations, more specifically shifts. All right, one more thing just to kind of clarify. The way that they're setting this up is they're saying f of x minus h is by default your kind of equation here. So like when there's a transformation of 2, for example, +2, it shows up like x minus 2. So that's why it's changing, because by default your symbol there in the middle is a minus. So whatever you input, like look at this second one, f of x plus 3. Well, whatever you input here, so they wanted you to input h as -3, it's going to change and kind of be the opposite. So this is how they're getting this. They're saying make it a minus by default. So here's that minus by default. Then input whatever h is So that would be this -3 here. And then it's going to change it. That's kind of what I mean when I say everything's opposite if it's horizontal. But basically, whatever you see, so for example, f of, here's a random example, x minus 11. So whatever you see here, change it to the opposite, and that is actually what you'll do in your table. And that's what actually is going to be applied to your coordinates. So like this x minus 11 part, this plus 11, is going to shift it right 11 units. I hope that wasn't too confusing.